EDHREC is a site built entirely around the statistics that make up our format, but sometimes those stats might not represent what cards work best in a deck. Welcome to Challenge of Stats, where I'm going to take a look at 2 cards that could be used for a popular commander, one that I think sees too little play and one that I think sees too much. Lathril, Blade of the Elves, is the 3rd most popular commander on EDHREC, with almost 16,000 decks in the database. That makes it the most popular Golgari commander, as well as the most popular creature theme-based commander deck, as it almost exclusively uses elf lists. Lathril, Blade of the Elves is a 4-mana Golgari commander, 2 and green-black. She reads, whenever Lathril, Blade of the Elves deals combat damage to a player, create that many 1/1 green elf warrior creature tokens. She has Medicine as a 2/3 and has a tap ability where you can tap 10 untapped elves you control, and each opponent loses 10 life and you gain 10 life. Taking a look at the data we have on all of those Lathril decks, one card jumps out at me as showing up in a surprising 22% of all of those lists, and that's Eyeblight Massacre. Eyeblight Massacre is a relatively simple sorcery, 2 and 2 black. Non-elf creatures get -2/-2 until end of turn. Now, before I go any further, I should note that Eyeblight Massacre did come in the Lathril precon, and that definitely explains, at least in large part, why it's in so many of these lists. I also understand why it has stayed in so many of these decks. After all, it's a partial board wipe that doesn't really affect the caster at all, since the top 41 most popular creatures in Lathril decks are all elves. I'm going to argue that card is still seeing too much play, however. In my reasoning? Well, my reasoning is simultaneously the card that I think should see more play in Lathril lists, and that's Crippling Fear, a card currently showing up in 10% of these decks. Crippling Fear is a sorcery as well. It also costs 2 and 2 black, and it says, choose a creature type. Creatures that aren't of the chosen type get -3/-3 until end of turn. It's functionally the same exact card should you choose elves, except it gives your opponent's creatures -3/-3 instead of -2/-2. Everything I said about Eyeblight Massacre being a decent card in Lathril decks applies to Crippling Fear, except Crippling Fear does all of those things better. Crippling Fear kills Yuriko the Tiger Shadow, which is the 4th most popular commander in EDHREC. Eyeblight Massacre does not. It kills Thrasio Triton Hero, the 5th most popular commander, and 1/2 of the most popular partner pair on EDHREC, and Eyeblight Massacre does not. It kills Wilhut the Rot Cleaver, it kills Krenko Mob Boss, it kills Chatterfang. That's just the commanders that it takes out. There's more than a few creatures that show up on our most popular list that are missed by Eyeblight Massacre, but are also taken out by Crippling Fear. There's functionally no downside in Lathril decks to upgrading your Eyeblight Massacre to a Crippling Fear, or in worst case, running it alongside Eyeblight Massacre. It's just strictly better in 99% of situations. So, thanks for joining me today, and remember, EDHREC your deck before you wreck your deck.